First item is a public hearing on ordinance 377, the electrical inspection ordinance. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak either for or against ordinance 377? Seeing no and hearing no comments, we'll conclude the public hearing and begin our regular city council meeting. And I'd ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you, and we'll respect the flag of the United States. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mayor Davison is on vacation this week, so I'm chairing the meeting, but we have one council member who's on vacation that is called in, so he's with us via speakerphone. And West Virginia code allows for individuals to, as long as they can hear us and as long as everybody can hear the individual on the other end of the phone line, allows them to participate and vote in city council meetings.
And I'm grateful for the latitude and people letting me participate by phone. But just to say, it's not a vacation. I was summoned to Texas. And I would call it anything but a vacation. But,
I thought you were out there enjoying a vacation.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. We have several Wesleyan students with us this evening. And our routine is to ask each of the students to stand, face the camera over here, say who you are, where you're from, and what your major is. So let's start over here on this side. Stand up and look into the camera and we'll go from there.
I'm Carly Hall. I'm from Riverton, Kansas, and I'm a sports business major.
I'm Allie Crawford. I'm from Wellsburg, West Virginia, and I'm an international business major.
I'm Nicole Friedemann. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I'm a sports business major.
I'm James Williams. I'm from Boswell, Maryland. I'm a sports business major.
I'm Gary Grantham. I'm from Shepherdstown, West Virginia, and I'm a sports business major.
Ryan Schmid from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, business management major.
I'm Mike Sevilla from St. Albans, West Virginia. I'm a business administration and biology major.
I'm Tyler Graham from Buckhannon. I'm a business administration major.
I'm Jessica Hardman from Buckhannon, and I'm an accounting major.
I'm Kayla Linger. I'm from Buckhannon, and I'm a sports business major.
I'm Rachel Bunting. I'm from Ireland. I'm a business admin major.
Hello, I'm Kayla Hinckley. I'm from Hurricane, West Virginia, and I'm an international business major.
Very good. Thank you very much. Hope you find this useful and interesting this evening. You're certainly welcome back anytime. We appreciate your interest and ability to participate in these meetings. This is your government at work, right here. Recognized guest, Joyce, would you like to address the group?
I would. Ask Amanda to step up here with me, and she'll help distribute some of the materials that you all know I always bring stuff with me when I come in. We could have had some of the students that we have quite a good group of students who are going to be helping us with the Crop Hunger Walk, and I don't see any of them here. And I will say that Alicia Rapking was supposed to be here as well, but she was feeling ill. So Amanda and I are here, and we appreciate the opportunity to come before the council and to share with the folks of Buckhannon and all of Upshur County about the upcoming Crop Hunger Walk that's scheduled for October the 6th at Jawbone Park. Registration will be at 1 p.m. and walk start at 2 p.m. Amanda will be distributing some envelopes where donations, you can collect donations and bring those to the walk with you. The walk is celebratory and also because we collect money beforehand and we bring it and we walk together and in solidarity for doing our part here in our community to stamp out hunger and poverty, and also across the world because this hunger walk, as we raise funds, will 25% will remain here in Upshur County at our food pantry at the Parish House and the Salvation Army, and the rest of it will go to third world countries to help them develop water supplies, develop methods for raising their own food, and not just a handout but a hand up to help them to be able to help themselves. And that is all coordinated by Church World Service, and which is an organization that is renowned across the world in helping countries with food and water and all of the needs that need to be met by folks who aren't as lucky as many of us that are sitting here in this room today. So we have a proclamation, and we would ask that everybody come out and help us as we raise funds with this endeavor.
Let me read the proclamation that Mayor Davison prepared for a left on vacation. Whereas the end of World War II, many people wanted to share our country's abundance with European war victims, and Church World Service and Crop's first purpose was to gather wheat and other crops from U.S. farms for shipment to Europe. And whereas today locally organized Church World Service sponsored crop hunger walks are an important part of community life for more than 2,000 towns and cities in the United States, bringing together people of different faiths, diverse cultures, and all age groups. And whereas in the last 15 years alone, crop hunger walks have raised over $200 million to help bring hope and help to people in need in more than 80 countries, including the U.S. Whereas each year crop hunger walks help more than 3,200 local food pantries, food banks, and meal sites in the U.S. provide food to neighbors in need, including our own Salvation Army Cross Lines Parish House in Buckhannon. Whereas the annual Crop Hunger Walk will be held on October 6th, 2013 to help our community become aware of and concerned about hunger and its causes, and whereas the Crop Hunger Walk will raise funds to stop hunger both locally and globally. Now I therefore, Kenneth T. Davison, Mayor of the City of Buckhannon, do hereby proclaim October 6, 2013 as Crop Hunger Walk Day, and do urge the citizens of Upshur County to support this Crop Hunger Walk. I'll present this to you. Like our photographers are ready. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the work you've done.
Well, we appreciate being able to be here this evening, and we hope that everybody will support the Crop Hunger Walk on that day, and we will be at Jawbone Park, and our walk will go up Meade Street and around by the college and the Riverwalk and back down, and so we very much appreciate everybody participating in the Crop Hunger Walk. And I did want to, and I know we're sharing some flyers around the room, to just share a couple of other items about fighting hunger. And here's how we can fight hunger. $25 can provide 50 baby chicks to a village, providing protein and income. $50 can provide seeds and tools to help 3 families start a garden. $110 can provide emergency food for a family of 5 for a month. And $150 can send 6 women to literacy classes and empower them for life. So your dollars go a long, long way, and we would very much appreciate you all participating in this event. I have posters and flyers, and I'm happy to give these to any of you all to post around in our community so that we can get the word out there. So I'll leave some of these here and ask that you take them and you share them around our community.
Thank you, Joyce. Any questions for Joyce?
I got a comment.
All right.
And I endorse what you're doing, Joyce, but I also think one of the messages that have to get out to the community and the citizens in this country is we use almost 40% of the corn crop for ethanol production. And it just doesn't make any sense when you think about the hunger that's out there. And we're using 40% of a very abundant crop for propelling our vehicles. You know, we have more natural energy resources here than almost any country in the world, and we need a national energy policy, which I think would help the hunger issue also. So I think that message needs to get out also.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Joyce. Appreciate it. Matt Kerner?
I'd like to just thank you for letting me speak on short notice. I didn't follow the normal process to get on the agenda. I just came this evening to ask for letters of support from the city on behalf of Opportunity House. We're going to be applying for 2 grants next week from West Virginia's Department of Health and Human Resources, the Bureau of Health and Health Facilities. The first grant will be a request for what they call PATH funding, projects and assistance of transition from homelessness. That would basically allow us to hire somebody to act as an outreach coordinator, do some case management for us, and try to move people from homelessness into permanent housing. The second grant will be an application for funding. Since Opportunity House has opened in 2004, we've never been able to, there's never been funds available or new funding available for facilities like ours. And for the first time in years, the state's made funding available, and we're going to be applying for that hopefully again to create a couple new positions to increase our staffing level and to increase and improve the quality of services that we're able to provide to our residents. I did bring a couple letters I've received from other agencies, including something to, provided you're willing to do that. If you need like a template, I have that ready.
Okay. Any questions or comments from city council members? This should be in the form of a motion.
You might want to ask Matt to explain what Opportunity House is for our Westland students that may not be familiar with it.
Sure. Opportunity House provides emergency, transitional, and permanent supportive housing for people who are primarily addicted. That's our primary focus is an addicted population. We have an apartment project that also has the requirement that the individuals engaged in that program be chronically homeless, which means that they've experienced 4 or more episodes of homelessness in the past 3 years, or 1 episode exceeding 1 year in length. They also have to have some sort of disabling condition. Usually we're dealing with mental health conditions. Oftentimes addiction is coupled with some other sort of co-occurring disorder. So basically try to provide some stability for those people. So then we can better manage the mental health issues and the addiction issues by providing stable housing.
Okay. Any further comments or concerns? Yeah, we'll probably have you come in and talk to Kenny when he gets back.
Sure.
He would be the one appropriate to do that.
Is there a deadline that you have to meet?
I think they go in Monday. I'm up against it. They're just about that. I don't know when he's coming back.
I think he's due back Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
Mr. Clemens, what you might do is entertain a motion from your council to authorize Mayor Davidson or his designee to execute the appropriate correspondence or other documents that would facilitate this grant application.
So move.
So moved, is there a second? Seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to say I've known Matt since he's been here, and it's an important facility for the community. And many of the individuals that are within the Opportunity House, they do volunteer work for different organizations in town. So I think it's an important addition to our community.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Lisa Mills.
I was here the last council meeting and asked for some additional support, which we've been getting from the officers and council pertaining to some problems we've been having down in our neighborhood, which is Park Street. Most of the neighbors down there are very appreciative. What's kind of amazed me is the number of people that have either called or approached me, including in one case, I didn't have this individual, but a former high school teacher who is no longer comfortable walking their dog in our neighborhood because of the activity going on there. So tonight I'm here to ask council's assistance in providing something. For many years there was a chain link fence that ran the length of the back of the city park. And there was a pass-through in the back where animals and or people, if they were walking, biking, whatever, could go through. But at the same time, if somebody were like running from the police, whatever, it did slow them down a bit. If they were trying to go straight, they would have to, am I not right, Matt? They had, it would at least help you guys catch them a little bit. I don't know why, because the sides of the fence are still there, but that back was taken down. And it is the general consensus of most of our neighbors, we want that fence back. And we would like it back the sooner the better. And we're appealing to you all for assistance in getting that fence put back up.
I was in some discussions on when that fence was taken down. It was primarily damaged heavily by storms. But we probably should refer your request to Consolidated Public Works, which will meet next Thursday, a week from today. We can put it on their agenda, and if you're available that afternoon at 4, you can make an appearance, or we'll just, I know
and
what.
When will that be?
Thursday at 4 o'clock next week.
Yeah, I could do, that's
I'll be
not a
there
problem.
anyhow.
Yeah, that's not a problem, because what a couple of the neighbors have even said, and I would be more than willing to help. I mean, if it would even come to pass that there would need to be funding, we will see about getting donations, whatever, but we want that fence put back up. My husband went so far as to say, well, I wonder if I could be arrested for putting it back up. And I said, I don't think we should put it up ourselves. I think we should probably ask first, because again, I don't want to say someone's name, but I've had a couple of high school kids who are good kids approach me and say, I hope you know now that you've pointed out that it was going on in front of the park, they've now moved their activity to the back of the park. And it's like, yeah. So, you know, what do you do? So now we're going to try to stop it in the back of the park. Maybe they'll all move to Ron's neighborhood since they were partially there to begin with. I'm sorry, Ron, maybe y'all can have a fence too, I don't know.
No, but I'd like to build a fence around a couple of places over there.
I do know that earlier he said he'd suggest putting not only a fence up, but adding a little bit of electric to it. I don't know. I don't think you can do that, but.
No, the zoning officer will get after you.
Yeah. Lisa, I will support you in all I can for that. Like I've said time and time again, the drug problem is outrageous. Some people say we have no drug problem. Well, it may be a little lighter here than it is in other places, but we do have a drug problem. And I would like to see it go away, at least during my term of office here. I've got another 3.5 years or so to go, 2.5 years. I I can't stand the drug problem. It upsets me because my kids never really had to deal with it. I never had to deal with it, but my grandchildren are having to deal with it, and that really bothers me.
Well, I have a feeling if we didn't have drug problem, Mr. Kerner wouldn't be here asking about assistance and other
You'll get out
grants.
of a job, Matt. I surely hope that you get out of a job soon.
I'd like that, but I don't see, I'm not really.
I don't see it happening either. One thing, when that fence was damaged due to the storm damage and everything, was there any insurance collected on that? Or anything like that?
There was also a car accident coming off of, I believe it was Beach Street, that had damaged the part that came straight off, but I don't know if they got the person's insurance on that. And then the part there by Steve Holmes's house, that was tree damage from a storm.
Okay.
So, I don't know, but we would like to have that fence back.
Well, I think we should have it back too.
Okay.
And do we still need a pass-through back there, Matt?
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think it would be
I never saw the
either.
use in it before.
Let's just put a fence
It's
with
just for us back there.
concertina wire on top of it and
Well, I've checked that out too, and I've always thought that, why was it necessary to have a way to go through? Because it's so dark back there and the trees and everything, and I agree, I think it needs to be shut totally
20
off.
years ago, it was probably okay.
Well,
Now it's not.
The only thing I'll say about the pass-through, and I will say this, there are people who mountain bike, who do bike through there that could use that pass-through. Now,
We used to do that.
you know, I don't know, and again, I know that you all did, but obviously I don't mountain bike.
A lot of deer that use that will now use my yard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that, we all, I kind of, you know, I was
This is really a discussion for
yeah, so, but yeah, any help that you all can give us, we would appreciate.
It's also a discussion that we need to be more proactive in our community to, you know, to really deal with this problem that Ron is. I mean, I've had problems in my neighborhood with you know, I had an issue 3 months ago, Memorial Day, with just 4 people that obviously I think were high on something. And, you know, we need to do something more than what we're doing. And we need to involve the county also. So I don't have any solutions right now. You know, I think our justice system, quite frankly, is not what it ought to be today. It's broken in some ways. But the fence is not going to solve, it will solve the problem for that particular area, but it's not solving the problem that's pervasive in our society.
They'll move from the back now down to the side next to Rich's house.
Well, when they do that, maybe we can corral them and Matt can come and get them and haul them off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica Grant?
Hello. I'm Veronica Grant, and this evening I represent Pet Door Rescue. We're an animal rescue group here in Buckhannon, and we have been practicing for a number of years, but officially official with our nonprofit status for about 5 years now. And we formed to try to help eliminate the overpopulation of abandoned, abused, neglected animals in Upshur and surrounding counties. Probably because all of us have our homes full, and we needed you guys so we didn't get divorced. But every year we try to have a few big fundraisers. And one of our biggest in the past has been a 5K run walk / quarter-mile doggy dash. And we're proposing to you to again have that this year. Last year we did that in conjunction with the activity at Wesleyan that the We Lead Animal Defense team does there, and it is they have a Blessing of the Animals Day, and I don't know if she's a pastor, a minister. Anyway, she has asked us to become a part of that. So we did that with her last year, and we would like to do that again, and that's October the 5th, Saturday. And I know you have certain maps on file that are approved, and there are 4 maps. 3 of those actually would go through the construction area of the new sidewalks. So I emailed, along with a proposal letter to Mr. Davidson, the 3 proposals that we have. I'm sorry, the 4th approved map that you guys have uses Chapel Hill Church as the venue. And since we don't have permission to use that church, and so we can do it in conjunction with the animal defense team at Wesleyan, we submitted 3 other proposals for those maps. And they're all pretty much the same to a point. We're going to hopefully start at the fountain down on Camden Avenue, and from there we will turn up Ritchie to Smithfield, all the way to the end of both those streets, make a right on Lincoln, and that is where the changes could occur, either coming straight down Florida to College, or going Florida down to Latham Street? Latham? Yeah, I'm sorry, Latham. And then either turning down onto Meade to hit College, or going over to Sedgwick and hit College. Whatever you guys prefer really is okay with us, whichever one is best to avoid that construction. But we know that there's a lot of stuff going on there. It's going to be early in the morning. We will have plenty of volunteers available to direct the runners and the walkers away from the areas that will be closed or have construction. And we will have EMS on call for that day, hopefully present there. They're pretty close though. And we just wanted to see if you guys would hopefully approve one of these maps and approve us to have our event again this year in conjunction with them.
I don't think there's any real issue with the project. I may have you figure out which map's best in terms of working with Matt or someone, instead of having us sit here and try to go through them. We do have this item on our consent agenda, which should be approved, unless, depending on whether you want to stay around or not. But I don't see there'll be any issue here to do it itself.
Do you have a preference which map? 1, 2, or 3?
Actually, I have run all of these, or walked all of these routes, and I prefer coming down Meade Street. It just seems to be that the sidewalks are a little more stable there, so that if there is traffic, then we can be on the sidewalks. Usually we have, last year we had 65 runners, the year before we had 92. So, you know, right around 50 to 100. It's not a big, ginormous run.
So number 2.
Number 2, yeah, is the favorite.
Thank you.
And I'll give.
I will ask you to check with Matt on that.
Okay.
Coordinate which one's best. Okay. Safety's are number 1 concern.
Yeah, and we will have the dogs, the doggy dashes immediately following the 5K, and all dogs will be on leashes, and all owners will be responsible for pickup of their own dog. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions?
The owners run with the dogs?
Yes.
They're running in the bulls.
All right, is there anyone else in the audience that has an interest in addressing city council at this point? Okay. With that, we'll move to department reports. Amby?
In your packet, you'll have a annual floodplain management progress report. In order to continue to participate in the NFIP Community Rating System Insurance Program, we have to be recertified each year, and in that recertification, we're also required to do a progress report on anything that the city's done to help improve the risk of damages from flooding. In this report this year, there's some information about past projects, and we also have, again this year, concentrated a lot on storm sewer projects, particularly in the Ritchie Street and Buckhannon Street areas. We also continue to enforce our floodplain ordinance that requires new construction to come in compliance with the flood ordinance. By doing that, we are able to have a classification with the city of Buckhannon as a Class 8 city with the CRS program. Therefore, our citizens can have a 10% reduction in flood insurance rates. We do this each year, and I think we're maybe one of 3 communities that actually have this program, participate and continue to qualify for it. That's pretty much, I just wanted as information as council. If anybody has any questions or want to go into any detail with the report, I'd be glad to talk to them if they want to come by my office. It's maybe not too exciting to some people, but it excites me.
For the students' benefit, probably a third or maybe a little bit more of the city of Buckhannon is in a flood zone. And the last flood that we had was a major proportion in 1985. What you know is Camden Avenue apartments had several feet of water in them. That back parking lot down there, if you park your car there, it would be half submerged and behind Camden Avenue apartments. So flooding and flooding issues are very close to Buckhannon. And what we try to do is mitigate any potential flooding that we possibly can so that it doesn't happen any more than it has to or any worse than it has to. So it's part of that process. Any questions for Andy? Okay, thank you. Michael?
Yes, since you were given the financial for the end of August, the last council meeting, I only have a few items to talk about tonight. Notice I'm on the agenda to talk about playground equipment purchase. Council will recall at the last meeting, we were given authorization to apply for some grant funds to look at purchasing some playground equipment for City Park to replace the playground equipment we took out for safety reasons. We were successful in securing that. The total cost the equipment to purchase was $27,370, $27,370, and that includes the shipping. Looking at other playground equipment through this whole process before this opportunity, what was brought to our attention, this actually ended up on average, the playground equipment we purchased versus the playground equipment we were looking at actually saved us in playground equipment roughly $30,000 by securing this grant. So we got a little bit of a savings there. I will note that the playground equipment is ADA compliant. There's been some discussion, and I notice it's later on in the agenda under correspondence about having playground equipment availability for special needs children. Certainly the playground equipment we purchased will accommodate that, and actually we're in discussions to look at some standalone equipment that would also be available for children with special needs, so we can kind of be an inclusive playground at City Park, and ultimately we'll want to do that for our other parks within the city of Buckhannon. So that's just a little update on that piece of information. We have partnered once again, we did this a couple years ago with the Upshur County Commission to do a joint auction. I had mentioned this at the last council meeting. We actually have a new partner that's gotten involved with the city and the county, and that's the Airport Authority. They will also be putting some, so a really nice joint effort by all those involved. That joint auction will actually be held October the 26th at 10 o'clock a.m. That's a Saturday. That's going to be held at the transfer station on Mudlick Road. We'll be doing all the necessary advertisements prior to that meeting or that auction, but just to advise council, the 26th of October at 10 o'clock at Mudlick. Under new business, a couple of us went to the West Virginia Municipal League, and they have certain vendors sitting out there. Someone spoke to a Cohen Law Group. Cohen Law Group is a law firm out of Pennsylvania, but they're licensed also in West Virginia. And what they do is they look at cable franchise agreements, existing cable franchise agreements. And they actually provide a assessment and evaluation of the strengths and the weaknesses of that agreement. As Mr. McCauley's alluded to, that agreement is vastly approaching its end. So I actually provided a copy to the Cohen Law Group. It's a free service up to this point, just to get an assessment from them moving forward, and certainly have included Mr. McCauley in that conversation as well. So as that evolves, we'll have a little bit more hopefully to share with you, and I'm kind of interested to see what they come back and feedback with their assessment. So other than that, nothing to report at this time.
Any questions for Michael?
Yeah, when will we receive the playground equipment, and when do we hope to get it erected?
Well, playground equipment, 4 to 6 weeks delivery. It's coming from Alabama. Ideally, we're not really sure when we're going to install that. The mayor has made a commitment and obligation prior to us even having this funding opportunity to have that in place by park season next year, which is in May. But this is going to sit in our warehouse. Depending on how the weather is, we may have an opportunity to install that a little earlier. Depending on that, just depends on when we get that equipment in and what the weather's like. We'll probably, with our street department doing an excellent job on Main Street, they're going to be tied down with that for a while. So we may have to look at having a contractor go and actually put the equipment up. The unique thing about that is we'll have to put that out for bid. And also those contractors, you just can't have any contractor. They have to have a licensed and certified contractor individual on site to inspect that because of the safety issue. Otherwise, we go back into the same thing we had at City Park, over the summer. So that's still really up in the air, but do want to let the public know again, the special needs conversation did come up. I'm glad that actually came up, and we had already had that purchase with this equipment. But again, we're looking at some pretty nice standalone equipment, swings that stand alone, and things of that nature that I think will be a really good asset to our community, and again, incorporating and accommodating all the children in our community. So.
Any other questions for Michael?
I have a question. Is that all right? Mr. Doss, I understand that you got the equipment. Does that include the landing zone, that would be called, the padding area around the
No, we
equipment?
actually have to, for the special needs children?
Well, no, just for your playground equipment
No,
in general.
actually, once we install the playground equipment, we're going to get synthetic chips, wood chips, that'll be put in there, and really, ideally, it would be really nice to kind of, in the spirit of community, maybe get some associations or groups together to help us kind of lay all that out. So, that's something a little bit later on. We got to get the equipment, get it installed, and do that. And we really want to have an opportunity to maybe get children from Academy Elementary School to also kind of christen, if you will, playground equipment also. So
I have a question.
Work in progress.
Thank you.
I have a question too. The synthetic wood chips are not ADA compliant.
Yeah, if you can have a landing bridge, which we'll have to acquire, that will take it over that, and there's what they call a transfer station that you go over the bridge, and that will actually get you up into the bridge structure of the playground equipment.
But if a special needs child wanted to play around the area, then they couldn't get their wheelchair to work in those synthetic chips, right? So why not go the extra amount and just put the whole flat ADA compliant surface on the playground?
It's a possibility. If the council's interested in that, we can look at those quotes. Obviously, a lot more significant cost, but if you want to do that, certainly that's something we can look at.
Why don't you bring back what that cost would be?
It'll be roughly $60,000. The chips are $9,000.
Also, I want to ask you about that too, about putting that at the North Buckhannon Park, because evidently it needs some attention over there also. I've been hearing a lot of that.
I agree.
I just think if we're going to make our parks accessible, they should be made accessible to everyone if they can use them. And $60,000 is a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money other places too. And this could be a very good program for the kids.
Well, we should make at least one of the parks
At least one.
ADA
Right.
compliant,
Completely.
and that's why people pay taxes, quite frankly.
Our focus, of course, has been on City Park because of the removal of that playground equipment. There's virtually nothing up there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that is the one that's the most difficult to make completely ADA compliant too, because of the hills and everything.
We're going to have to do some grading. We're going to put this new equipment anyway, so there's some challenges.
Okay, thank you. Matt, Police Chief?
A few things this evening. The police department's been quite busy with a number of endeavors.
We did start one of our officers in the police academy at beginning of August. Josh Wilson is there. He's in his 4th week, and all is going well. We do anticipate his graduation December 13th, and he'll start his field training then, and it should go throughout the winter and early part of the spring. Officer O'Connor is awaiting placement in the academy in January, and talked with the FTO officers, and we're going to work on modified field training in reverse for him so that he doesn't have quite a long turnaround period when he gets out of the academy, because he won't be scheduled to graduate until sometime in late April. And if we start his field training from day 1 right out of the academy, he'll field train through the summer. So we're going to reverse his field training and do it throughout this fall, and with some refreshers as he gets out of the academy, with the idea that hopefully they're both graduated and field ready by Strawberry Festival. So that's our goal. I do have a concern I'd like to bring up and kind of open up a dialogue with council if I could. I had an individual in the community bring a concern to me, and I wanted to, again, discuss this with council and get some direction on how you'd like to proceed with this issue. This individual had concerns about the manner in which vehicles are parking on various roads throughout town. And specifically, they pointed out a section in the code that focuses on right and left parallel parking. And if you'll indulge me, the specific code is 17C 13 and 4. And it says, except as otherwise provided in this section, every vehicle stopped or parked upon a roadway where there are adjacent curbs shall be so stopped or parked with the right-hand wheels of such vehicle parallel to and with 18 inches of the right-hand curb. So that means that state law prohibits parking against traffic. If you parallel park on the street, you have to do it on the right-hand side of your car. You can't pull against traffic and park with your left-hand side of your car facing the curb. Now, obviously, that is something that is just historically only been enforced on Main Street. Our parking enforcement officer, among other things that he enforces in the downtown area, looks for that type of thing on Main Street. I think primarily because of the traffic flow and the heavy traffic in the downtown area. But this state code covers every street, not just Main Street. And so historically, enforcement of this is just focused on Main Street. We haven't enforced this in other areas of town, and that's been for as long as I've been here. I've been here 17 years, and even before that, I've never known it to ever be enforced. But again, there is a concern, and there's a concern that vehicles are pulling against traffic. Not just on Main Street, but other streets as well, to park in such a manner. And the specific concern that was shared with us was people who are biking, using the streets for bicycles. If a vehicle would pull out against traffic from a parking space where they're parking with their left-hand side facing the curb, it could pose a potential hazard for bicyclists and motorists alike. So I wanted to open up a dialogue and kind of get some direction for how you all would like the police department to approach this issue. We'll go on to say that 17C 13 and 4 goes on to say the second section of this does say that local authorities may by ordinance permit parking of vehicles with the left-hand wheels adjacent to and with 18 inches of the left-hand curb of a one-way roadway. Now, a lot of our roads where this is occurring isn't one way, but it's only allowing parking on one side of the road. For instance, just on my way here tonight, I counted 9 cars on College Avenue total parked, and 7 of the 9 were parked the wrong way. South Florida Street had 10 cars total, and 2 of the 10 were parked the wrong way. Meade Street would be another classic example. East Lincoln Street, West Lincoln Street rather, would be another example where you would probably find at least 1/3 to half of all vehicles parked the wrong way. So if there is enforcement, just bearing in mind, it is widespread throughout town, particularly on roads where there's only parking on one side of the road. And a lot of it's because it's just historically that's the way they've always done it, and nothing's been said about it. But there is a concern that was raised with us, and I wanted to bring that to council and open up a dialogue for some direction.
We've only had one complaint.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll be the first to tell you that it is a problem, especially on Florida Street. Coming down from Barber Street to Florida when I'm going to church, I always whip in and park on the left-hand side of the street there in front of First Methodist Church, as do a lot of people. On Barber Street, you know, there's no parking on the one side, so we've got people that park both ways on the other side of Barber Street. A lot of streets in Buckhannon are like that. The streets are too narrow. When the streets were built, they were for these narrow Model A Fords and everything like that, and horses and buggies, and they worked real well. It's just not a good situation. Now, I'd like to think that the city is, streets department's considering, and they're redoing the streets of widening them like they are East Main, so it'll be more accessible to cars and to bicyclists going up. But it's a problem, and if you stop it, I don't know that that's a good situation either.
Yeah, I will point out that we were aware that a similar complaint came up in the city of Fairmont a couple months ago, and we were in communication with the police department. It's a very similar complaint to what we received as well, and they decided to enforce it. And I think one of their failings, and this is in their own words, they didn't really have immediate blitz in terms of they're going to start enforcing. This was the same situation that we had. People had been doing it for years and years and years, and the people that were getting tickets were complaining that, hey, we've done this for, I think in one person's words, 500 years, and nothing's ever been done about it. And now that you're deciding the tickets for this, and so you know they do recommend, and obviously we thought of this if we would take this direction. There really should be a public education period. If we're going to focus on this direction, if that's the direction we want to go.
When the streets were built also, if a household was lucky, they had one car. And that wasn't a problem because they parked it in their driveway. And now the average family has 2.5 cars, or sometimes 5.5 cars or whatever. There's not room in the driveways, or if you've got 2 cars, one parks on the road because they don't know when the other's wanting out. People on Barber Street, I know there's a couple of houses there beside me and next to me where they've got 5 or 6 cars. There's a rental property next to me that has perfect parking in the back. Nobody ever uses it. Maybe an issue would be for the zoning officer to contact or put out something publicly saying that, hey, and I believe each housing unit in Buckhannon is allocated so many parking places.
Only if they're remodeled or new.
Or on the existing, they're whatever they want. But if you have off-street parking, you should utilize it. And I think a lot of the problem is because they don't utilize their own off-street parking. Even though they can drive through the alley and park in the back, they don't do it. I'm not too sure I'd want to start enforcing a law like that right now or not. It's
and that's what me personally, that's where I'm torn as well. I mean, I've been here 17 years and never once issued a parking ticket for that. But I do see, I'm not discounting the complaint either. I do see the concern. I can certainly appreciate, appreciate the concerns that were brought, certainly for motor safety and the, bicyclist safety as well, even more so, really. I really appreciate that point of view, and I understand that as well, and it is an issue when it comes to that. So, I mean, you're really between a rock and a hard place.
We certainly have more bicyclists now than we did in the past.
We did.
And we have a lot of people walking. It's dangerous, I know.
Well, if you start enforcing it, I think you ought to have a 30 or 60-day warning process where you put it on the windshield saying, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the direction you all think we should go with it, you know, certainly, we thought of that off the outset. I mean, Paramount mentioned the shortcomings with its approach to it, that they didn't do that. They started enforcing from day one and issued hundreds and hundreds of parking tickets. And, you know, that's not something that, you know, we want to, you know, we're not out to get people, obviously, but if there's a violation of law that we have to deal with, you know, we have to deal with it. But, you know, I think there should be a public education period if we approach it in that manner. And that's everything from a media blitz to, we do have warning tickets for parking violations. We would have to order more than what we have now, but we do have that template and we have that capability before an actual enforcement period would begin.
I think if you're going to do a public blitz on this or something, you should really emphasize off-street parking if you have it available too.
Other comments for Matt? As you and I talked today a little bit, was just traveling on 40th Street recently, and all of a sudden, as I'm going south on 40th Street, here comes a car going north, and all of a sudden it just cuts right in front of me. I didn't know where it was going next. Certainly wasn't going in a driveway. You know, was it going to hit me or was it parking? It turned out it was parking, but it's kind of a scary moment there, and I don't think that's a very good cause. But you bring out the point which we need to think about. If a car is parked, the driver is on the curb side, and now they go to pull out. If there's a bicyclist coming along the edge of the parked cars, they don't have a chance.
No, they won't see him.
The driver won't see him, and the bicyclist won't see the car until
that's really what inspired me to complain. The person on the bicycle was going to hit.
I can see that as being pretty dangerous.
Right, and that's why I said I appreciate that point of view as well. But irregardless, you know, just no matter what type of media blitz we do, or how many warnings we give, there's still going to be a lot more parking tickets issued than what we've seen in the past. It's just,
and we do issue them from Main
Street.
We do.
And it's always been enforced as long as
Yes, you do.
One thing I wanted to mention, Matt, I've been noticing quite often some very young kids out late at night running around. And I just feel that the officers are running around. They see a child, they need to absolutely stop.
We do.
And take them home or whatever.
We do. We keep a list in our cruisers of curfew violations that's been issued. And the ordinance says that we have to issue a warning. That's why we keep a list to see who has been given warnings. Because once you're given a warning, the warning is turned into our secretary, and she updates the list. And so every time a warning is issued, the list is updated. The old list is shredded, and the new list is issued to each patrol unit. And every time we encounter a juvenile out past curfew, we consult the list. If they're on the list, that means they've gotten their warning. And in the past, we've been in the practice of issuing not only the juvenile, but the guardian as well, a citation for curfew violation.
Well, as late as probably 10 days ago, in the middle of the week, 3:30 in the morning, I heard noise, and there were two kids out on their bicycles at 3:30 in the morning. They couldn't have been over 10 or 11 years old.
I encourage you to call that in if you see it.
Well,
obviously, we try to look for it, but you know, if you see something like that, I encourage you to call us to investigate it.
Which number?
Call the comm center.
Okay.
9550.
I call them pretty often.
We encourage you to do that. That's what we do.
What's the number again, Matt?
472-9550. So, am I to understand that we are to, you want us to start enforcing the parking regulations on parallel parking, or no?
It's the law.
It is the law, yes.
It's the law, and I've got no objection at all to enforcing the law. And I've often felt like there's no gray area. It's either black or white. I've said that time and time again about a lot of different things. This time it may apply to me, but it's the law. I'd say enforce it.
Well, if
with a
you
little
own
bit of
the
knowledge
home
out there. Yeah, certainly will be in the papers, I'm sure. And Channel 3 is going to have it. Morning tickets for what, 30, 45 days?
I'd probably go 60.
60 days?
Yeah, I'd say you go, start at, December the 1st. That gives you
December 1st.
a little over 2 months. I mean, you don't have to order tickets to one, just get an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and copy it. So you don't do this anymore or something.
The tickets we have are pretty official. I had an issue one time with people parking on the sidewalk on 4th Street, and I issued about half a dozen of those and took care of the problem for 7 months.
Have you given any tickets in the city yet for cell phone violations?
One. There was one issue about a month or so ago.
Because a lot of people are still.
Can we make citizens arrests?
Be nice.
And while we're there, it is illegal to drive and use a cell phone without a hands-free device.
Yes, that's correct. Certainly is. And texting, it makes it double illegal.
Yep.
Like speeding in the work center.
And eating a hamburger at the same time.
And putting on your makeup.
And reading the book.
I have seen people driving, reading the newspaper.
I have seen it.
Anything else, Matt?
That's all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Sam Ludlow, city engineer.
Report on sanitary board meeting that we held this afternoon. Brief report on the NBDS permit. There has been a number of communications between the mayor and the director of Water and Waste Division of DEP. And we finally had a conversation with him where he said that the permit section is actually doing an evaluation of what we proposed relative not only to Buckhannon, but to Buckhannon and the Buckhannon River, but to several other communities with similar river systems that they're discharging into, and that they intend to gather data to verify and calibrate the formulas that we proposed relative to all of those rivers and communities. And they were hopeful that they might be able to gather that data this fall, but weren't very confident of that, and if not, it would go into next year when there would be low flow conditions. And we did ask that they provide us some correspondence identifying how they were responding to our request and acknowledging that this activity on their part would have some impact on our response to the directives in our new permit, and they agreed to provide that correspondence. We've had the Weston Road Sewer Extension Project pretty much on hold for a couple months relative to our inquiry to the CSX Railroad and the acquisition of more of that right-of-way. And we finally got a response from the railroad, not with an answer, but at least with acknowledgement that they had our information and were about to review it. So that was a big step. We had correspondence a couple of months ago where they were very helpful and positive in terms of the response, but then it passed on up their process to a different section which handled real estate matters, and they had never acknowledged receipt as far as we were concerned, but we did get that acknowledgement last week, so I thought that was a positive step. We have constructed the sewer extension, which is only a pretty short extension off of the Brushy Fork interceptor that will serve the new armory. That's complete. Well, it's 98% complete. There's a few things that we need to do as they complete their work. We have a similar situation with the North Ridge development where our basic work there is also complete. It was a pretty difficult construction project. There was a lot of rock, there was some interference with some other utilities. So there were some difficult aspects to that. We moved this week to begin work on an extension that ultimately that's at the Buckhannon Housing Authority property, but ultimately will serve an area out with what was the Burton Phillips Farm. We got the reports back. I think I noted this at the last meeting that I attended, but we twice a year have to do lab performance testing. And we got the official reports back, and Phil Jenkins does that work. We have samples sent to us with known values. We don't know the values, but they're pre-established values, and we have to perform the tests. And it's part of the evaluation process for certification of our lab. And we did very well. Phil did very well on those tests, which again will be part of our lab certification. We're also deeply involved by now on the second plant drainage pump station and VistaGrid, which is our grit removal system upgrade. The grid system was beginning to fail, was not performing, just needed to be renovated, and during the course of that we're making improvements. And part of the improvement was to better drainage, which also fits into our last NPDS permit where we were cited for some coliform, some bad tests in a storm drain, not our plant discharge, but in a storm drain. And at least part of that could be contributed to drainage problems on site, which we're working to correct. We also had some further discussion, which we have periodically, on having adequate backup power capability at the plant. And we probably would look at a series of small generators to serve individual equipment items rather than another big generator to serve the entire plant. And we discussed some of our options relative to that. And that was all.
Any questions for Sam? Thank you. Water Department, Tom or Kelly?
No, it's me this time. My report is just a little bit brief, but basically what I'm going to report on is what we've accomplished over the last month. The armory line is complete. That's the 12-inch to 6-inch. It's looped in, it's seeded, mulched, it's done, it's charged. We've done 3 different pressure tests on it, 250 PSI each. Each pressure test was good, it held. Everything we've done worked out right like it was supposed to. So that's what we like to see. All the sampling that we've done to make sure that there was no bacteria in the line, that come back good. We've done 2 different samples on it. Took it to the lab at Clarksburg, everything come back good. So it's now turned into the system. Our part is ready to go. We'll applaud the crews that put that in. They done it a lot of wet weather. It wasn't the best conditions where they was working in that lower down there next to the creek. Sam will attest to that, but they worked at it, 4-man crew, and they got it completed. You know, and like I said, I think they got it done in a good length of time. Also, we had done all of our street repairs and our sidewalks where we had tore up due to leaks or new services. That's all been taken care of as far as this past month. Worked, put a sump pump in the Tennerton pump station, which is something minor. We'll let you all know we'll begin flushing fire hydrants September the 30th. And That'll go on from 8 to 4:30 each day until they're complete. There'll be 2 different crews. We split the city up in 2 different sections where one will go one way and we'll just keep flushing in until they're all completed. Brian Carpenter, he's one of our customer service personnel. They have to be certified to test meters. I crowded him a little bit because generally you take the written test and a bench test, which would test up to a 2-inch meter at the shop. But we also have to field test any meter over 4-inch annually, and has to be tested in place. So that's another test. He took all 3 tests in the same day, passed all of them, which I think that speaks highly of our employees on that. Another issue, we was approached by a company, I'm not going to say their name now until we get everything finalized, but they was wanted to do a pilot study with us on a flow meter, which they want to actually give it to us for us to do a paper on at like one of our pump stations, which would be great because the flow meter we have in place, if we send it off to be recalibrated, we'd start looking at purchasing another one, and that would be like an $8,000 savings. So we're all for that, just to see if we can get all the legal part worked out. So, and that's about all I have.
Questions for Kelly? Thank you, Kelly. I have just one item to report. Zoning Board of Appeals met on September 17th regarding an appeal for variance at 11th and L Street, which the board denied. And that needs to be in your minutes. Dave McCauley, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Clemens. Several updates. You have in your packet one zoning housing enforcement matter that we've attended to and got the property owner's assurance just earlier this week that compliance with the city's request will prove forthcoming here very soon. A couple of other things I want to take up with you. The primary one of which, aside from second reading ordinance 377, is the latest revised intergovernmental agreement with the State Armory Board and the City of Buckhannon. You had an earlier draft last time that I thought would prove to be the final draft. Mr. Barnett, who's General Counsel for the West Virginia Military, apparently took that draft unexecuted to the Attorney General's office for review. I'm told that historically the Attorney General's office pretty much would sign whatever other agencies would present to them for their statutory approval, but Patrick Morrissey's office has become very prone to extra review of all of these documents now. And it was mentioned by somebody that the Upshur County CVB is not a governmental entity, and to call this an intergovernmental agreement when one of the participating parties was not technically a governmental entity, that Mr. Barnett should go a different route. So he redrafted the document, sent it to me. I made some changes to it, sent it back to him, and now everything is rip-roaring ready to go. So what you have before you tonight, I'm not going to read this thing, although it's not particularly voluminous. This is the document which the state of West Virginia has to have as part of its checklist in order to invoice the city of Buckhannon for its participation in the project. The city, as you know, is participating to the extent of $750,000, and in addition to that, the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau is contributing an extra $100,000, primarily to complete the kitchen and the catering facet of the conference center at the Readiness Center. So as you will look in this agreement, I think a couple of the more important sections, and the ones that I primarily drafted, paragraph 3, in addition to the $400,000 contribution and the water line construction, the city will also contribute up to an additional $300,000 to fund the design, construction, and construction supervision of the build-out of the catering kitchen and other select enhancements to the Readiness Center project. Both parties acknowledge that up to $100,000 of the $300,000 additional contribution will be paid to the city by the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau, a nonprofit West Virginia corporation, pursuant to an agreement previously entered into between the city and the UCCVB respecting costs associated with the build-out of the catering kitchen and other select enhancements to the Readiness Center. Paragraph 4 specifically recites that the city has in fact already borrowed $765,000 through the USDA grant. And I think another important provision that I drafted is paragraph 17, which states that this agreement is specifically subject to all of the terms and provisions of that certain lease agreement previously executed by the parties hereto and the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau, dated April 11, 2013, and appearing of record in the office of the County Clerk's Office, D Book 512 and 476. Again, this is something that we didn't hoax up. The state needs this in order to be authorized to invoice the city, and I think it is in good, ready form now, and it would be my recommendation that the council, specifically by motion tonight, authorize Mayor Davidson upon his return Monday to execute in duplicate these agreements and to shoot them down to Charleston to Mr. Barnett.
I would make a motion that we authorize Mayor Davidson to execute this agreement when he gets back on Monday.
Second.
Got a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Doss presented me a couple of weeks ago with a proposed memorandum of understanding and agreement that had been drafted by or on behalf of the Upshur County Commission concerning our city of Buckhannon's receiving the data points, the digital mapping information, the coordinates, whatever you want to call it, that would be helpful to our Buckhannon Fire Department, both the paid and volunteer facets of our Buckhannon Fire Department. The agreement, which I don't know if it's been executed by the Adrian Fire Department yet, that's what they are proposing as the template. There are 2 or 3 points of relatively minor clarification, legal language that I've marked up for Mr. Doss's consideration to talk with the county about. And there's also several insurance requirements in order for us to get these data points that they're going to require us to approve insurance coverage. I think we probably have almost everything covered already. There is this certificate of co-insuredness that we will need to provide to the county, which is not unusual. We've had situations where we've required proof of insurance and identification as a co-insured. So I think, I guess I'm pleased to report that it appears as though we are very close to receiving those coordinates that we've been talking about getting for probably a year or so. I don't know if Michael wants to say anything more about that at this point or not, but you'll have a formal agreement to consider, I would guess, in the next meeting or two from the county.
I just have one point of clarification. I'll get with Dave after the meeting just to make sure we're on the same page with that paragraph.
And the only other thing I would mention, we still haven't gotten a meeting scheduled with Sudden Link. They are apparently doing some pretty substantial upgrades, some of which you can see, most of which you probably can't see. And there's been a change that's it kind of fades in and out of the cable lineup. Not always, the channels aren't always where you expect them to be. Mr. Oval, who contacts me every time something happens with TV cable, called again yesterday and said, go to Channel 2. Channel 2 is Channel 4, and I don't know where Channel 2 is now. And so my favorite channel is American Movie Classics on ESPN. And I noticed over the last 3 or 4 days, I've been trying to get American Movie Classics. And it's gone. Oh, my God, they took that channel. I'm going to die, you know. And now it was on Channel 27, which then you had to find out where Fox Sports went to. But I think this is all going to be cleared up very soon. But it does bring to mind again this need for us to sit down with Sudden Lake and discuss what their intentions are going forward. The franchise agreement that we have right now will expire at the end of 2014, and we're very close to the end of 2013. There is supposed to be a 6-month prior to the expiration period where the parties sit down intensely and try to negotiate the new agreement. I think I'd like to maybe see us have that next meeting before we get too close to the expiration of the existing franchise.
And remind me to give you a couple of concerns that City Hall has regarding that.
With our friends at
With
Sudden
Sudden
Lake?
Lake, yeah.
Be happy to. Maybe we can just make a list of the things and sort of a talking points kind of a thing. Shoot it to Peter Brown and our friend Mike Kellerman in Charleston and ask them when they might be available for a meeting. Do a combined city council, TV cable board meeting as we sometimes have over the years.
Might be good to get our evaluation back from these folks and see if that might add some items to the list.
Sure, absolutely.
Anything else, Dave?
That's all I have, with the exception of ordinance 377 that I'll read by caption to you in a few minutes.
Any questions for Dave? Okay, you'll note in your package you have some correspondence. One is requests that came in, we're obviously working on for special needs equipment for children at the parks. Letter that Mr. McCauley sent regarding fence in the alley, and the public hearing notice for ordinance 377. Which takes us to the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes of September 5th, approval of building wiring permits, approval of payment of the bills, approval of the Pet Door Rescue 5K Run Walk. And Matt, did you settle on 2, or are we still?
Yeah, it looks like number 2.
Number 2 is the route of choice?
Yes.
And also, and this is kind of, I brought it up last time, but it would be good for us to go ahead and set trick-or-treat date and time. That's been typically 6 to 7 p.m. As close to Halloween as you can get. This year it's pretty easy. That'd be Thursday, October 31st. So unless there's objection, proceed with that. Is there a motion to approve the items in the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Tom move. Ron seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Sorry, Rich, just to be clear, the Halloween, setting the day of Halloween is now part of the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Which brings us back to David, the second and final reading of ordinance 377.
Thank you, Mr. Clemens. We've talked about this on and off again for a couple of 3 months now. Nothing has changed in this second reading that you're going to consider this evening. As Mr. Clemens mentioned, as part of your packet, you do have the legal notice and my correspondence with the Record Delta. The legal notice, which is required by Chapter 8, Article 11, Section 4B of the West Virginia Code, requires at least 5 days prior to the consideration of the ordinance on final reading that there be a legal advertisement giving people the opportunity to provide their thoughts. We actually do Class 2 ads instead of Class 1 ads so that nobody can ever say that we're just doing the bare minimum. There is a little extra expense involved with those legal ads, but I think it's well worth it. So, this is ordinance number 377 of the City of Buckhannon, and ordinance 1, adopting the NFPA 1, also known as the National Fire Code 2009 edition. 2, adopting the NFPA 70, also known as the National Electrical Code 2008 edition. 3, adopting the NFPA 101, also known as the National Life Safety Code 2009 edition. 4, defining electrical standards and inspections. 5, establishing new fees for electrical inspections. 6, establishing the city's Structural Electrical Safety Committee. And 7, amending ordinance number 245 of the City of Buckhannon. You approved this at your meeting on September 5 on first reading. If you approve this on second reading tonight, the ordinance would be effectuated 30 days following today, which would be October 19, 2013. Mitch Tacey, your fire chief, has approved this in all respects. You've heard from our electrical inspector, Mr. Martini, who has approved it in all respects. Your city zoning and housing enforcement officer believes it's a good thing for the city to do. I would highly recommend to council that you pass on second and final reading tonight, ordinance 377 of the city of Buckhannon.
Entertain a motion regarding ordinance 377.
I'll move to approve it.
Okay, Tom has moved to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Pam seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Comments and announcements. Yes, Tom, you had something?
No, I was just going to say, if that's the close of the business, I was just going to take my leave.
You were. I'll let you have first comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ron, I don't want to step on your toes there.
Oh, you're good.
No, that's okay, just don't step on my thumb.
I just want to thank Jerry Arnold and the street department for getting, there's a mirror they put up in the alley that runs down Main Street, the block behind, that's the one. The residents have asked for that mirror to be put there to help them when they're going, coming around kind of blind corners. And my hats off to Jerry and the guys in the street department for taking care of that. I really appreciate it. And the residents of that area do as well.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
Nope. Thank you. Good night.
Night. Thank you. Okay, Dave Thomas.
I think it's important to remind, we're getting another month or two near the Christmas season, and people will be getting phone calls for providing opportunity to give monies to the representing from a fraternal order of police to give money for the children's for Christmas. And I want to remind people that what they give, only 50% goes to the child. And I still think we need to have somebody represent, who's making those phone calls and give a better explanation of what they're doing. I think telemarketing is, most of what you give, sometimes only 15% goes to the people that's really supposed to help. So I think we need to consider that again. I want to remind the citizens to be careful. I also want to address again what Ron said about his concerns about the pervasiveness of drugs in our community. And I think we really need to have an action plan to be more proactive in what we're going to do as a city and a county to eradicate this problem that we have within our community and take a more proactive stance than what we've done in the past. And, maybe Matt, you need to present a plan to us as to what you think we ought to be doing as a community to do better policing as far as the consumption of drugs in our town. That's it.
Public hangings are out of the question, right, Matt?
I think so. Yeah, in West Virginia, it is.
What about public humiliation?
Well, I mean, that's up to the courts. I mean, there's all kinds of different options that the court could utilize in community service to...
I was thinking about putting them on display with a sign or something like that, carrying it around.
Stocks are out nowadays.
Stocks are out, yeah, but I've seen other states where the judges have ordered them to carry a sign around stating, "I am a convicted drug dealer."
Or I'm stupid. That's going on in Cleveland.
Stuck on
right
stupid or whatever.
Pam?
I was wondering if all of our boards got filled yet?
No, they're not. Good you bring that up. There are some vacancies on several of our boards. If you're interested in serving as a volunteer, they're all unpaid positions at the present time that are unfilled. If you're interested, call City Hall. I'll be glad to talk to you. We can discuss what the boards do and what vacancies are available, and I'll be glad to find you a spot if you'd like to help out and manage the process. Anything else, Pam?
I would like to ask for a brief executive session.
Okay. We'll do that here in a moment. Anything else?
No,
that's it. Ron?
Well, I have one question regarding the electrical inspector. I understand that our current electrical inspector is also an electrical contractor.
That's correct.
And who inspects his work? it's not really a good thing to inspect your own work. So I was asked that question this week, and I told him I'd bring it up tonight. And who does inspect his work when he's working as a contractor?
When he does work in the city of Buckhannon, I cannot answer that question this evening. I don't know the answer to it.
I think we should work on finding an answer to that, Mr. Mayor.
I will tell you, I think all of our electrical inspectors over the years have been contractors.
Well,
That's pretty typical.
well, that's not the problem. The problem is whether all of them in the past or whether it's done in the future, they should not be inspecting their own work, and that goes for any type of
They may
work.
be entitled to.
It's still not a good idea.
What we might consider
FC, the
is,
state does. They're the ones.
might consider some sort of, and we're permitted to do this by the state code, intergovernmental cooperation stuff.
From another county.
Yeah, maybe enter into a reciprocal arrangement with Elkins or Philippi or Bridgeport or something like that.
I would like if we could think about this for further pursuit, yes, please.
Good idea.
And then on a personal note, I would like to personally thank my neighbor John DeGarmo, Officers Stewart and Loudon, the EMS that responded to my unfortunate accident Monday a week ago when I fell into a table saw. And thank them for what they've done for me. I appreciate it. Things are going well. Like I say, I can only hitchhike going left now. I can't go right at all. So, and on another note, have a great week. And I'm glad to see the students out. A lot of them this year too. Wow, that's great. And I hope you're not too bored. Did you learn anything tonight about anything? Don't just shake.
Don't even know where.
Yay, we like it.
I can't park my car where I always park it now.
Amber, do you have anything for us? Nope. Okay. Thank you, students, for coming. We appreciate that, and we're ready to take.
If you would identify the general reason for the executive session, just so that your minutes are
right. What personnel? Okay. There's only for students here, all public bodies of any type, school boards, city councils, are required to follow what's referred to as the Open Meetings Act in the state of West Virginia, which is not an unusual piece of legislation. It's pretty well available in all states. But one thing we must do in terms of business that we conduct is always conducted in the presence of the public. We don't go behind locked doors and make decisions, with 3 exceptions. And there's 3 items that you're allowed to have an executive session on. One is personnel, another one is litigation, and the third is property negotiation. Am I right?
Yeah, there's actually about 8 or 9.
8 or 9, but
honorariums,
acts of war,
copyright matters, martial law. But you're
the 3 that we usually get into are those 3.
You're right on, Mr. Brown.
But anyhow, those so we follow that code very closely, and so when we will not adjourn here in a moment, but we will have a motion to go into the executive session when everybody else gets to leave. And we'll stay here and conduct other business, and then depending upon the outcome, it will determine whether we come back into open session or not afterwards, if we have any decisions to. Won't have any decision. So is there a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are proceeding into executive session, and you're excused.